Yo, what's good? Big Z here, and today I'm going to show you guys how I remake sounds from popular songs like I do for some of my videos. It's just a helpful skill to learn, and it just teaches you a lot about sound design. Sound design is really all about trial and error, so it's just about experimenting and trying different things until you get to a good place with the sound. So what better way to show you how I remake sounds than to just remake a sound from scratch right now that I've never made before. So I like this sound from Thing For You by Martin Solveig and David Guetta a lot, and I want to try to remake it in this video. So here's what it sounds like. It's the sound in the drop, by the way.
And when I'm next to you, I get those fucked up feelings I do 'cause I gotta wait for you.
Yeah, so that wah, 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 wah. I'm going to try to remake that one. So obviously I've already got the MP3 loaded up in a Logic project here, and I've got the BPM locked in, and that's just so I can easily loop the drop right here while I'm working on remaking the song. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm just going to open a new instance of Serum to make the sound in. So here's a new instance of Serum. Before I do anything else, I'm just going to get the right MIDI notes in so I can just loop that section and do the sound design while I'm looping the MIDI. So it's obviously the wrong octave and everything, but we'll fix all that later. Alright, so that part's basically the same rhythm, except the last note. Alright, so let's get down to the basics of the sound and just start experimenting with it. I'll show you guys kind of my process when I'm remaking these sounds. So first of all, I'll just have a good listen to the sound a few times and just think about kind of the characteristics it has. Alright, so one, there's definitely some distortion on there. It's some good sounding distortion. Two, it's a pretty wide sound in the mix. So I'm definitely going to want multiple voices of unison. Other than that, there's really not much reverb on there, so I don't have to worry about reverb. That's enough information to start off with, so let's just open Serum and start messing around. That's definitely the right octave right there. Now I'm going to add in some voices of unison and try to match the detune of the synth. Alright, so that detune sounds fine for now. I'm going to make it mono because there's only one note playing at a time. And it sounds like there's a little attack in the sound, like a slower attack. So I can mess around with different wavetables later, but I'm going to try to get the basic effects down first. Maybe try to nail that distortion first. So let's go in here and open up the distortion and see what sounds good. Ooh, that one sounds interesting, actually. One of these two distortions between the sine fold and the linear fold definitely has the certain type of characteristic I'm looking for in the distortion. So I'm just going to mess around with the drive and mix a little bit. Alright, so that sounds good for now. It's definitely more filtered than that, so I'm going to add in a filter. I'm going to control that filter cutoff with this envelope down here. So now what I like to do that I have the sound going in the right direction is just duplicate this serum track and mute the original instance of serum. And that's so I can just keep experimenting without having to worry about messing up the sound. So if I experiment too much on this new version of serum and really mess up the sound, then I can always go back to this old version of the sound and start again from there. So you'll see me duplicate the track a couple times while I'm working on the sound. Let's keep messing around and see if we can get a little bit closer. So I definitely want some compression on this sound. The multiband compression is definitely too harsh, so I'm going to try using just normal compression. Seems like if I bring the drive over like 25%, it has too much of that distorted character. So I'm thinking somewhere around like 20 to like 23%. Also, I'm going to add an external EQ now to shape the sound a little bit. It sounds like there's kind of some resonant high frequency noise up here. So I think that EQ actually helped a lot. So I'm going to keep messing around with this EQ to shape the sound a little bit more like the original. So now I'm going to put an EQ on my master bus just to kind of compare the two sounds a little bit closer and look at different sections of the frequency spectrum. So it seems like there's a little bump around like 150 hertz. And a little bit less around like 300 hertz. That sounds fine. Now for the very top end. There's some kind of frequency up here that's still annoying. So now let's check out this whole EQ and see if it's helping the sound. So the way I like to do that is this mix knob within FabFilter Pro Q3, this gain scale. I can scale it all the way back to where there's no EQ, and I can go all the way to 200%. So I'll scale it back and mix it in. Alright, so I think it's definitely helping to shape the sound, so I'm going to leave it right around 100. So it sounded to me like this main sound is really wide in the mix, and it sounds like there's one other layer right beneath it that's right in the middle of the mix. It's a very similar sound. So I'm going to make sure this layer is really wide, and then I'm going to cut off everything below like 100 hertz and make room for that middle like sub layer. Alright, so I'm going to duplicate this track and bring the MIDI down here again and get working on this middle layer. So what I'm going to do is just bring the voice of unison all the way down to 1. And I'm going to turn off this dimension expander. Let's see if there's any part where we can really clearly hear that other bass sound. You can kind of hear it right here. It sounds like this sound doesn't have as slow of an attack either. So we want this to be the main sub sound, so I'm going to go to my other layer and just cut off everything below like 100 hertz. Alright, now I'm going to mix this new layer in with the other one. Kind of sounds like there's some resonant frequencies in there. Alright, so that's sounding pretty similar to me now. It's not exactly the same, but hopefully you get a good idea now of how I approach remaking sounds. Like I've said a bunch of times in this video, it's all about trial and error and just messing around and experimenting until you get closer and closer to that sound. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Spotify below. And other than that, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.